You already know. It's Kappa Kappa. Young millionaires. The general. Okay, I wake up every day, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling great. Every day I'm getting paid, man, this life is going great. I just wanna celebrate, I made it in and out of state. $1 million in the case, I got it hidden somewhere safe. I multiply all my millions and really I am extremely wealthy. I distributed my millions with my family. This is just the beginning, I purchased a Lamborghini. Driving around the city, believe me, you haven't seen me. Made it through all the struggle, defeated all of my rivals. I was never entitled, I had to fight for survival. Man, this life is amazing, it's crazy the way we made it. Now I'm living my dreams and I'm burning, just getting started. I made it through the struggle back when I was very worried. Now I'm chilling in my condo, Lamborghinis and Bugatti. I know you in a hurry, but I promise don't be worried. When you see me in the club, I probably got enough to party. I'm a multi-millionaire, getting money everywhere. I ain't tripping on nobody, I just came to celebrate. Yeah, we got the party popping, got the general over here, throwing money in the air, cause we get it every day. I multiply all my millions, now me and my people winning. Moving city to city, I promise that you will see me driving a Lamborghini, but this is just the beginning. $1 million Bugatti, I'm stacking money in the ceiling. Multiply all my millions, now me and my people winning. Moving city to city, I promise that you will see me driving a Lamborghini, but this is just the beginning. $1 million Bugatti, I'm stacking money in the ceiling.
The Truth Podcast, live from the grill on San Mateo. We're here with the whole YM crew. What's up, guys?
What's going on?
We got a little weird feedback.
I think it was that we got to fix.
You gotta fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Hey, what's up?
we're killing it, guys. We're killing it. I'm excited about today's topic. You know, I was talking to, things, life just hits you, right? So I've been tragedy after tragedy, week after week. I lost my niece, and then we had a baby kitty we brought into our lives. Had her for 9 days, and we ended up losing her. And it was a pretty traumatic experience for me and Rihanna. It was just a very tough situation, right? But the one thing I gotta say is, in life, we can never dictate why things happen, right? And what we can say is, it's either a reason, a season, or a lifetime, right? And when people or situations, especially living things, come into our lives, we can't dictate that. That's going to be God's choice. So we can't make that decision for us. And we think about it, and when you really are able to, when you're in quiet time, stop to think about why did I go through this experience? Why was I able to experience it? And I think that ultimately, for me, when I go through things, I really like to look at what the positive was, not really the negative part of it. Most people get stuck on the negative, and they're never able to kind of look at why the situation was there, right? For us, and I'll speak for myself, when I look at life, what the little Chanel cat taught me was, you can never take life for granted. And the other things is, you think I'm a man with so many resources, and no matter what I threw at the vets, whatever I could do wasn't there, right? You got to think about that. it's just crazy. At the end of the day, we can never take those things for granted, right? You dent a fender in a car, you can get that sucker repaired. Who gives a shit? It's not a living thing, right? One of the big things that I think it even showed me is like material things can be replaced easily or fixed, but a human life or an animal or their part, they can never be replaced. That's the freaking important thing that I see, right? And so, but then even with that situation, then you can't be like, well, what did I do? What did I not do? And people get caught up in that. And it's what was the real reason behind it? And that's what I was looking for. And for this situation, it was a reason. It wasn't a long time. It wasn't a season. Definitely wasn't a lifetime. And I think those things that I think we cannot take for granted in life. And so we're always out there chasing the next greatest thing. But are we really? I don't know if you guys heard of this. This is a thing that we've heard a lot, is stopping and smelling the roses, right? Mm-hmm. Like you're in that rush and you're not even like enjoying the situation because time passes like that. I was thinking about the other day, and I was thinking about this crap, and it's already been almost 5-6 years that I've known the Winston. And I'm like, holy shit, that just passed like that. To me, it seems like yesterday we were taking the Lambos up to that. But those moments, like when you're just in the rush and what's going on, you forget, right? Thinking about the projects that I've done in my life, just in houses and stuff, and like, really thinking about what did I achieve? What did I do? What were those moments? And when we're just kind of like banging through it and not even really thinking about it, it's different, I guess, right? I think when you have major loss in your life, it really makes you kind of stops you in your tracks of what you're doing, and really kind of makes you reflect on life. You guys have any major situations like that or anything?
The one thing I can say is I've said on numerous episodes that my life has kind of drastically changed in the last year and a half, because my brother passing away was the biggest thing that opened my eyes to it. And kind of with everything hit at once, like the whole world basically changed. And then my personal life had a pretty big change in it. And that's like when I was having conversations with you. And I'm like, you know what? I really care about just sitting outside, hearing the birds chirp, enjoying, the green trees and everything like that. Kind of the things, that I would sit back and smell the roses, literally. And that's kind of something that I found a true enjoyment in, versus so much like chasing a piece of cheese every single day. Like, oh, get up, go get this piece of cheese, get up, get this piece of cheese. Instead of sitting back, reflecting and saying, look at what I've done, look at these accomplishments. And that's when I would found myself diving into a different topic, kind of living for other people instead of living for myself, But that was the biggest drastic change that happened for me that really matured me and took me to the next level. Was losing my brother, I could say, mostly because it became so real. And it was like, holy crap, anything at any moment can happen. And, my thing is, and one of Jack's good buddies, I take the saying from him, is he says, I live for today and I plan for tomorrow. And that's pretty much it. And that's kind of how I live my life too. And in other words, it means enjoy your life now in this moment, but also don't go and blow your whole, load on the day you're in, and just make sure you got enough for tomorrow. And keep going, because I've been in situations where I would stress my life and be like, okay, where am I going to be in the next 10 to 15, 20 years? And yes, I plan for that, but I don't stress myself out saying, okay, well, if this happens and this would happen and this would happen, you know what I mean? And I found myself almost creating and manifesting bad, or how to avoid things. Or I was stressing myself out in the present, worrying about things that may not even happen in the future, And that's what I've been able to let go of ever since the situation did occur. And it's done really well for me.
Yeah. Nikki?
That's really good. I really love today's topic because my great grandma gave my mom a letter that said reasons, seasons, and a lifetime when we were young, and I used to always read it. So I've always resonated with that. And the second I learned to know where the people were placed in, it made it easier for me, because to me, a reason a lot of the times are people that have died in my life, that they either taught me something, or I moved something, or an animal. I've actually had like random animals show up at our house and stay for 2 days and then disappeared, and we never seen them again. But, back to the smelling the roses, when I was younger, I was so fast at living that sometimes I forgot to enjoy the moments. And so now how I really approach everything is, this could be the best days of my life. Like, am I really inhaling it? Am I really like in the moment? Just like working with you and we're having fun, cleaning up the thing. I'm like, I want to soak in this moment because in 10 years it's going to be like that and it's going to be gone. So I'm really like honing in. And
you made a really great comment yesterday, Nikki, that I really liked about, you know, we're out there cleaning and you brought something. You said, you know what? In the past, I thought this was the greatest thing that I had seen or achieved or whatever. And then you're kind of in this camp now and you see that we kind of do so many different deals. But I think one of the cool things that I've been able to see in you is that you've taken even like the cleaning ability and in your life, like it's just like manifesting better through like the discipline, right? Me and you, I mean, you know, people think that there's this big old cleaning crew that comes into Harmonics. There's no cleaning crews. I don't believe in that shit. I believe in you maintain your domain so you can respect it, right? You know that. But we went hard and, you know, even like down to the wood floors, like, you know, I'm sweating a freaking storm up there, you know, doing it the way I want to do it, you know, after my big old, you know, VIP poker tournament that I had. It was a fucking disaster, right? I had to clean shit up. And when we were there doing it, I remember you came up and it says, there's no cutting corners. But from that experience, now you're able to go out on your own when you go back even to past environments and you're like, holy shit, I don't want to go back to this.
oh yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
It's so crazy of what a duality things can be. But it's also good when you have that. You know, you don't know the light till you have the dark, that kind of stuff. So when I was younger, my duality was different. You know what I mean? Like my good was kind of really bad and my bad was bad. And so now it's so weird when I leave Harmonics building at night. It's so contrasting for me that it's almost like detrimental to my soul because the family, just outside world is so completely chaotic compared to like when I'm in my safe haven in Sweet F, you know?
Yeah.
It's really crazy. Like last night I was like, okay, just breathe it out because I had such a good time with you guys and my energy was just so grounded. And then there I was like, you know, out in the universe all, there's humans and everybody's all fucked up and I don't know what to do. And it's like every day I got to figure out like, where's my duality? Like when I leave that building, like I don't need to go lower, but how do I just survive without feeling so freaking stressed, man? I had a little bit of anxiety yesterday, bad, like for some reason. I think because I had such contrasting feelings, right? I was like, you guys made me feel so better, like just sitting with you, the mindset, and like I told you about a situation, and that was hard for me, you know, being able to go back to something that was my safe place, and I felt totally it was just a really
you were sidewinded.
It blew my mind, and then I freaked out, right? And then I come back, and it was like, what a different energy. Like it's crazy, you know.
I think what you see is like, and this is what I tell people about. You know, for myself, I think me and you, Nikki, we really want to talk these topics on today's podcast. Where we're gonna just create fucking fake characters. You know what I mean? And I think for myself, in a situation in these last 2 weeks, I had to come to a decision that certain individuals are just not good for my psyche, and I think that they don't bring no value to me. And when I really think about it, it's like I'm putting so much energy towards them, or when they come towards me, they're sucking it all dry. That I'm like, and this could be, you know, your family. This doesn't matter what it is. It could be your friends. And sometimes you got to say, you know what? It's time to just, I don't want to say cut ties, but it's like you're going to evade the situation, right? You're evading these people because there's no value. They don't care about you. It's always, you know, really dramatic. Everything's fucking dramatic. And I think that in my personality, I don't like that dramatic scene. I think what you've learned with us, you know, was one of the funny stories is when we were hanging out a lot, like Winston and, you know, Mikey was around and you know, there Michael, we'd all be killing it. And then Mike Brooks would always say, back to reality. Fuck, we're going back to reality. And I say, it's time to part like the Red Sea. And one of the crazy part is, you know, I was, I'm gonna shout out to Kaden Garcia and, you know, I had little Michael in there and, you know, I kind of mentoring these guys and had him in my conference room. And it was funny because we had that. And he's like, holy shit, it's already 7 o'clock. And I'm like, all right, boys, it's time to part like the Red Sea. And, you know, they had that moment. I think us as humans, we're always looking for a good structure, a good safe place, right? It's not about the money. It's not about the cars, not about that. Just that there's no controversy. I think one thing I've learned for myself is that I'm not a controversial individual. I'm not going to be sitting there trying to be one-upping you or it's a controversial conversation. If it doesn't bring me any value, I don't really give a shit. I'm not going to get in there and start thinking about it. But if it's something stupid I think is going to affect you, I'm going to jump in and, we're going to handle it. I think that's kind of like what I'm talking about, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes those people that come into your life, it's a reason to teach you that you don't want them in your life, or you know what? This is what your life could look like, right?
Yeah.
And you don't want a long time season of that. And you fucking definitely don't want a lifetime of that stupidity.
Yeah.
And that's what I think I'm always gauging. I love being around people and seeing like, well, you know what? I don't think I could put up for this long, but I definitely don't want a lifetime of this crap. Life's too short, right? You don't know.
Absolutely. I really want to read something from the poem that my great grandma gave. Can I give it?
Yeah, yeah.
Before we move on. So, this is reasons. When someone in your life is in your life for a reason, it's usually to meet a need or to have expressed. They have come to assist you through difficulty, to provide you with guidance and support, to aid you physically, emotionally, or spiritually. They may seem like a godsend, and they are. They are there for a reason. You need them to be. Then, without any wrongdoing or part, at any inconvenient time, this person will say or do something to bring the relationship to the end. Sometimes they die. Sometimes they walk away. Sometimes they act up and force you to take a stand. What we must realize is that our need has been met, our desire fulfilled, their wake is done, and the prayer sent up has been answered, and now it's time to move on.
That was the reason part, right?
Yeah, that's the reason.
You have one for the season?
Absolutely. Some people come into your life for a season because your turn has come to share, grow, or learn. They bring you an experience of peace or make you laugh. They teach you something that you have never done. They usually give you an unbelievable amount of joy. Believe it is real, but only for a season.
You have a lifetime in there?
I do. My great grandma gave this to my mom. It was a paper my mom would always, it's all moldy and who knows what else. Lifetime. Relationships teach you lifetime lessons. Thing you must build upon in order to have a solid emotional foundation. Your job is to accept the lesson, love the person, and put what you have learned to use in all other relationships and areas of your life. It is said that the love is blind, but friendship is clairvoyant.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing I think people don't realize and don't really take down. And, you kind of like, those three things, if you can actually like really take that in and understand that, I think you're going to really hit life super strong. That reason that season of a lifetime has been a monster for me, because you're not there questioning like, oh my God, well, I remember the guy that used to hang out there, why we're not hanging out no more, or what's this, or gal, or whatever. You gotta, and I think that ultimately we don't have control of that. And that's what I like about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's really cool to see it. I'm glad you brought that up. That's really funny because I always teach people that, especially when someone's like over a heartbreak or something. I'm like, no, it was, what did you learn from it? And that was my biggest lessons. Like I had a relationship that taught me communication. I had a relationship that taught me unconditional love. I had a relationship that taught me to vocalize my damn feelings and not swallow everything. It's kind of weird how it works out. And then I always feel like family lands up in lifetimers because you only can take some things with it, and then you just love them, and you don't really, they're just there for a lifetime. You can't really take stuff. Like I'm lucky I have some, like my aunt, so I take a lot from her. I learn a lot from her. And then there's other ones where I'm like, I'm not gonna remember that one. But it's just kind of weird. Family always falls into lifetimers,
And I think that's also tough. I don't know if it's like a forced lifetime. You know what I'm trying to say? Like I call it the sentence.
Yeah.
But I don't know about that one. I don't think I
Yeah.
really try to agree with that with the family one. I
Yeah.
think that from a scientific approach, they're gonna be your family forever because they're blood related. But I don't think they're good there. They're being in your life for a lifetime. I think you might be able to get them in an actual season, and they spend a season. I'll give you an example. I remember like when I was a young man growing up, I had certain cousins in my life, and some of them were in good relationships, some were, but they were there for that season of my time. And that season was a long season because it was basically my young manhood. I call it high school, right? You're call your 9th, your 10th grade, and then I think there's another season where it's like I would say 5th grade to 7th grade, and then you got 3rd grade and below. I think those are all different seasons, in my opinion, right?
Mhm.
And I think that those people were either like so tremendous in that point, even family, but they're no longer in the big picture.
Yeah.
So they're not really lifetimers. They're really a season.
Yeah.
I think the only family members are going to be a lifetime for you is going to be your mother and your father, right? Because especially like mothers, I think they're there, like, you know, if you got a good mom, if you got a fucked up mom, well, so I can't. It's not the same thing. She was a season too, right? I think it's just certain people, but you're not going to dictate it, right? It's like the universe is going to tell you. I've had people that I thought were going to be in my life for a lifetime, and I was like, I could bet money on it, and it was really a season, right? And doesn't mean that someone can't be in your life for multiple seasons either, right? It's like not just it was a summer. That's what the whole saying was about. You know, there's a very different way of like I living in the present, right, and changing it. I'm gonna share something with you guys that I've been doing that's kind of crazy, right? So, you know, I'm one of those guys who's very like down to science, right? And I'm like, I do things one way, and I was starting to see that like I was doing things over and over and over again. I wasn't getting any satisfaction. So I kind of changed it up. So I get up in the morning and I'm like, used to just like, boom, brush your teeth, get that shit done, breakfast, not even breakfast, I mean, shower, you're out getting ready to break, and then you're out the fucking door. And it was weird because it's like that part of that system, I wrote this down, I was like little using up all the time, and I get to the office like say 20 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes earlier, and I'm sitting there and I couldn't get the mind actually working. And let me tell you something that's weird. So one thing we've done is, so I told PB, I said, you know what? Put the coffee on. So we went out, and I get up in the morning, and I actually start breakfast first, and then I go outside and I have my coffee outside the house. Like really looking at the birds, listening to the water, thinking about life, right? And it's like that meditation. And so I switched on my meditation, but it's actually while I'm drinking coffee and just enjoying life or conversation. And what's crazy, it's put me in a whole different mindset, and I'm actually showing up more refreshed and with the same amount of time. And I can't figure it out that I'm getting there still early by doing that stuff when I thought those other steps were just getting done. So it's just weird, right? You know what I mean? So I just kind of want to share that a little bit, but it's a quick change that's, and I wouldn't have done that if it wouldn't have been for the little kitty cat, right? I wouldn't have done that because the moment I wake up, she started meowing. And I think that I had to take it in that moment. Now I couldn't just, go on my day. And so I think certain things come in your life to teach you stuff. And for me was like, to accept more love. Like that was unconditional love for me. And then really enjoying like what Carson says, the smell of the birds and the sound of the birds and, just the air and stuff. And it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you have no choice to be in a state of gratitude, I feel like. When you're in look, you're sitting in your home of that you worked for, you built, you're looking at your grass that you're the one that does your own yard. You're just in that moment of gratitude. Even like Carson with his house he's doing, I'm sure you sit in the living room and you're just like, there's a moment of gratitude because it's like yours, right?
Just breathing in dust. I told one of the builders I've been talking to on this, and he's like, "You're crazy." He's like, "You need to put a mask on or something." He's like, "You're breathing in mold, asbestos, all this crap." I'm like, "Yeah, it's fine." He's like waiting for me to grow a third arm or something. But it's crazy. It's one of those feelings. I still can't believe the project I'm working on because it's pretty big project, and for a 2-man crew, it's pretty intense, and that's what gets me. I'm like, holy shit, we're really doing this. But it's been a life changer too. It's altered my aspect of mind, and it's kind of put me in a tunnel vision state where I just got certain things I'm focused on right now and just getting the job done. And it's good and bad, I guess, but
it's your reason. It's your reason
exactly.
for right now.
Or your why, right? Or your why. Yeah. You know what you realize, what's really crazy? When you become very productive and you do something, even if it's like a 2-man crew, I really believe, like, I don't know what it is, but I really believe God just extends his blessing on you and you just start achieving stuff. You think about this, Andrew and Robin were showing me about their house they're doing it. That guy's doing that much shit on his own. 2-man chrome with his stepdad, breaking the concrete. And I've seen like what they've done. I haven't seen what the result has been now, but it was like pretty crazy what they were able to accomplish with just putting it. And when you actually, it's really not about the amount of humans. What I've realized is this: I've managed a shitload of employees. I've had a shitload of employees. I've got on a job site with a shitload of guys, and what I really realize, it's a shitload of guys standing around. But you get two to three. If you get 4, you're fucking lucky. But if you get 2 to 3 guys that are just like, and gals who are like in sync, you're gonna be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at this. I talk about this all the time. I look at what me, Nikki, and Saul can do, right? On like we're banging it up, and like Emmanuel come in the background, do things. We're fucking unstoppable. It's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like, and you think about that, and I was really documenting this, and we're actually doing what 6 to 7 people were doing,
Wow.
and more effective. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Last night I was talking to the twins at the salsa twins at El Pinto, and they're doing the highest numbers with less crew, and they're very effective. But I think the people that are there are producing more. Sometimes more is not more.
Yeah.
More is fucking less,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes less is more.
You got more talk going on than actual work, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what I
got more
mean?
mingling and all that crap, you know? You're paying for a guy to go to run in the gas station and get coffees or lunches. And
Yeah, and I think the other thing too, I just know is when I was running a sales group, there was 17 of us, and I was still putting up probably 65% of the numbers by myself.
mm,
So you see what I'm trying to say?
yeah.
You're really not. And then there was another guy named Brent who was killing it in second place, and I think he was putting up about 25. And then we had Tom. So the other fuckers there were just kind of just wasting money.
Well, the less you have too, the less people you have around the fire, you know, you have more influence on a smaller crew. You can create more of a culture with the smaller crew because you don't have so much outliers going and tainting. Like if I was working with you guys and I'm like, Nikki, just come over here for a minute, let's take a little break.
Yeah.
She may feel peered into it. If you leave, right, and you're working on something else, and we'll be sitting there drinking water, and I'm tainting the culture. You know what I
true.
mean? And you have more people doing that, and that's why I truly believe the smaller group you have, and if it is a smaller group, you probably have more like-minded people like you.
Yeah.
Like Nikki's super inspired by you. She's going to strive and be hungry for things. But if you weren't on the job site, and not anything against you, it's just human nature, her work ethic may be a little bit different. And if you're not QCing it, it may be different. It's just human nature. You know what I'm trying to say? And that's why when you have a bigger corporation or bigger companies, you don't have the CEOs and the presidents doing the work with you. And a lot of times, you know what I mean? Versus mom and pop or locally owned, a lot of times the CEOs are hand on and they're creating an awesome culture and the employees love working there.
I'll tell you one
You get
thing.
what I mean?
So I think one of the things that I was telling someone today, what was that day? I said, you need to read 21 Leadership Skills by Jack Welch. And they asked Jack Welch what made him such a superior CEO. And his whole thing was he actually was on the grounds of GE, walking every single office, finding out what the needs were. And so I think that, like, I'm not necessarily in the game with these guys, but I'm always like, what are the needs?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I'll give an example. When we were doing the office, I saw Nikki with a few tools that she's coming from a world of you use less, whatever you got, just use it. And I'm like, no, that's going to fucking waste time. So me, I'm going to buy the mops that make sense, the brooms that make sense, the tools that make sense, the punch tools that are faster, the cutting tools. But I'm in there, so I hear it immediately. So instead of leaving them on the job with the wrong tools and they don't want to ask for them, or we could just get this done, I'm actually able to see, and I'm saying, buy these dual tools right now, or order this cable, or this is where it's at. And so they're actually doing the work. I'm in the background, but I'm walking those halls. And that's one thing I learned from reading that book from Jack Welch. And you can't get bigger than, at the time, the GE conglomerates.
Yeah, and with that, I mean, the more well-equipped they are, the easier their job's going to be, the better it's going to be. So it's going to drive overall efficiency. Clients are happy, employees are happy, you're happy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it drives that complete circle. And it was one thing me and Joe were talking about last week is we were saying, you show us anything great that's run well and it's ran by a good leader, football coaches, basketball coaches, big corporations, anything. It has a great leader standing behind it. And a lot of them, you know who they are, and the employees have probably met them at least. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like also in work groups, just from all my experience of years, it's so important to have like a certain dynamic, right? You can't have like a certain, all three of a certain personality type.
No.
And so that's what I think we're super lucky, because somehow we all kind of fit in like a puzzle, right? Like your worth ethic, your thing, your vision, this, then there's Saul. And it's like all of us create like one solid moving organism, you know, the whole team.
The whole team.
It's all different, you know? So like when me and Saul are on a job site, he's so good and he's so work orientated, and me, I'm analyzing, right? How can we do this better? Is this really logical? Should we do this? So as we're moving, I'm like, what do you think about that? And he's like, that's a great idea. And like, it's funny because if I
Role
had
players.
his same personality type, we would still dig the trench. However, it would have been dug in the same way, right? Instead, maybe I had a better idea. It's kind of weird how it all kind of worked out.
You got to have role players,
Yeah.
man. There's a reason there's a quarterback, a receiver,
Absolutely.
center, everything, and anything really. If you
Yeah.
got one person doing the same job or same size of athletes, I always like to refer to sports. Same size of athletes. What are they going to do when they go up against the linemen?
Mhm. Yeah.
They're going to get killed, man. It's one of those things, and it's the same way in business. It's the same way in just about anything else. Even weightlifting, you got power lifters, then you got people who compete in physique. You know what I mean? It's all.
Then you got
different.
Michael Hearn, who's a power body lifter.
That guy is just, I don't know what to say about that guy.
That guy is, his whole thing of being, his whole mantra is like the way I used to train the guys like Al Showman and Mick, and they call it power bodybuilding. It's just a whole different animal, right? And so it's kind of crazy when you think about that. That's harmonics, convergence engineering, right?
Mhm.
We're like, the client we just left, Rudy, undersheriff, we built this whole network for his house, and he was blown away. And he's like, holy crap, I never thought a network could run this way, right?
Yeah.
But we're doing from the cable infrastructure to the end, to the real high-level nerd shit,
Yeah.
right? That Gabe likes to say. So, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is that because you find in most of my world, someone can do this and they do it fairly okay, but it's not really the entire convergence piece of it, right? It's like I guess you want to call it almost like a custom builder, right? You start from the ground up. The
Yeah.
design sits with you and kind of picks the design, then moves it forward. That's the one thing that I think is really rare now,
Yeah.
is no one can actually bring a vision.
And also going to job sites, because this is kind of fairly new to me. I did the drafting side to it when I was younger, but it blows my mind in a new building or a new thing that these companies can come in and do half-ass work. It really blows my mind, because then it just creates more hard work, like just stupidity
That's what
almost,
blue
right?
collar is.
And then
you know what I mean?
then there's me and Saul still killing it and making it look like pristine.
I mean,
It's crazy.
I don't want to fucking put the people under the bus, but the guys that did this job are the number one company, I would say, in Albuquerque that does entertainment systems. And this was a fucking clusterfuck.
I could have done it better without even knowing what I know now. Like, it was really mind-boggling. But then at the end of the day, it made me want to have more pride moving forward on job sites, right? Like I want to be able to go to a job site by myself, nobody, and still you can't tell if Jack or fucking Saul or I did it.
Yes.
Like, that's what it made me want to do. Because when I was like, I would never want someone to walk into my work and be like, who the hell did this? Like, it just blows my mind. Even in drafting world, like, I've seen drawings, like when I was working for engineering firms, and I would get a red line and I'm like, what the hell were they thinking? Like, some people are like on autopilot. They don't even, like, I treat my drafting like an art piece. Like, when I hand it in, everything's just pristine. I double check everything, the angle, it flows. And then I've seen stuff where like people are like putting text on stuff and you're trying to read it because the lines are crossing, and
It's
wild.
just again, it's putting in that craftsmanship, right?
Mhm. Yeah, that's awesome.
John, you've been pretty quiet. You've been thinking. You got the thought process, man.
No, I've been listening to. I've been sort of absorbing, and from a personal standpoint, I look, at friends that have come and gone as being seasons. My reasons definitely I'm 50 now, but more than half of my lifetime, it's been my sons. They're the reason. So they've added to my lifetime, and I look at teaching and coaching, but even from like a business perspective. These companies that look at their workers as seasonal, and not so much that they're but really that's what ends up happening is because they value them so little that they end up turning over all these employees because they pay them so little, they don't give them benefits, and then they wonder what the outcome is, because then they just do half-ass work.
Mm-hmm.
I remember there was a quote on The Simpsons where, Lisa's, there's this very liberal-minded person, the character on The Simpsons, and she was trying to encourage Homer to strike. And he's like, You don't strike. You just go in and do your job really half-ass,
Mhm.
and that's what ends up happening
Yes.
Yeah.
when you don't value your employees.
Yeah, for
When
sure.
when you don't give them incentives, when you don't, and look at teaching. Okay,
Yeah.
so a lot of teachers do half-ass work, or this is their opportunity to not come back in because they have the leverage. You know, if you don't value people, well, then that's all you're going to get is seasonal reactions to things versus a lifetime of development or a lifetime of caring about something.
What do you think, John, on that subject? I talked to a lot of older teachers, right, that were like my teachers, and I was asking them their opinion, and they think that there was an influx of teachers that came in on the basis that they were going to have 3 months off in the summer, and so they already came with the fucked up intention. And they were talking about like Joe G, for example, how he was a teacher, but then he was doing all this coaching, like kind of like what you're doing throughout the whole summer. And he found himself putting more hours, but he loved it. He said like he had those kids ready. So when they went to go cross country, they weren't like breaking them in. They had to do certain things, or they were doing like even like getting together and helping the elderly. Because up north, it's a big difference, right? So what's your take on that? I kind of want to know what your take on that.
Well, if it's coaching, then you're not doing it ever for the money. This isn't like Texas, just across the, Texas over in football coaches in Texas, they're making 6 figures a year. They don't teach, that's their profession. They treat them like professionals. So what you end up finding is you end up having, and Coach Vermonte used to talk about this, and that's really how I came on to start show producing. We did a show with him, and we beat his team, and he was so furious. And then he starts digging into it, and he figures out, well, the guy that's coaching my son, he's doing it volunteer because APS only pays 7 coaches. They can have 10 coaches. 3 can't be paid unless they pay for them through the booster club. So he's like, well, how can I be pissed when the guy's coming and volunteering his time? Or maybe he is making $3,500 for an 11th month gig, So again, how do you have those expectations when you value people so little? But then the people that do put in their heart and effort, they're not doing it for the money. They're doing it because they care about the sports. They probably their life was made different because of a coach in their life, so from that standpoint, I've coached for 26 years. And like I said, the most I've ever made in a year for coaching is $3,500.
So I think,
so it's never been about the money. It's always been about the value that I could bring to other people. And I just like anything, you do stuff because you want to do it, so.
Carson, so you and your project at the house, at your house you're building, I'm sure there's been some. Has there been any subs that you've had to work with?
So far, no.
No subs yet?
No, I had without saying too much, I don't know if I've gone into detail, but I've had some people come and try to help me out with certain things, and the house has really taught me a lot of reasons, I guess you can say. You find out who people really are and what people's true intentions are when you kind of need someone to come through. And I've found myself seeing people who I thought I was friends, well, not friends, but like acquaintances, I guess, with really trying to get rich off me, unfortunately. So there's a big reason why a lot of stuff I've been doing myself. People say they'll show up a certain time, they don't. And, which is fine. I've kind of been in a peace of mind to know that I can cash my own check. And that's one thing that I've relied on. And this project I'm working on has really taught me that extremely well. And I've been fine with it. I'm at peace with it. And it's just one thing that I think of it as paid education, right? You have to sometimes take a loss to understand people and their true nature, I guess. You know what I mean? So,
but I think this is going to make you, in your business, Titan is going to make you see houses from a different perspective.
Yes.
Oh, 100%. And that's a big reason why, I've dived into this. And one thing I can say is I've had this vision of learning all aspects of real estate, because when I got into real estate, my first true intention wasn't in actually being in sales. It's just kind of how my path and whatever God had planned for me worked out. But my vision was to say, you know what, if I'm going to be in sales, I'm going to be in sales. I'm going to be in investment. I'm going to be in commercial development. I'm going to learn all of these things. And my forte is going to be real estate. But I know that the way real estate works is I can afford to spend and do home builds, or I could afford to do flips, or I could afford to do rentals and still be an agent. You know what I mean? And that's one thing I always envisioned myself doing. And it's all came in the right timing. Because for me now, if I'm at a house and the client says, we like this house, but we really hate this wall, I could tell you right now when the load bearing wall is where it is, or, is this on foundation, crawl space? What kind of plumbing does it have? And those are certain things that I never knew before. And I never knew how easy it is to do it. And how,
how people can get
the
soaked
business
for
is
it,
highway robbery, man.
Yeah.
It's really crazy. It's so easy to do plumbing, so easy to do electrical. I've done everything myself.
But again, just like anything, knowledge is power, experience is power.
Exactly.
And when you have somebody that can't swing a hammer, can't put up a wall, can't do all those things, then
but a lot of it is a will to do it,
Oh, absolutely.
And all the time, like when I would see things, oh my God, it's so much work. We don't want to do this.
But again, that's
and I'm like,
confidence and not wanting
you don't
to
want
be
to
afraid
take
to
a couple
fail.
hours out of your day to do something. You'd rather go and pay $10,000 to do this piece of work, and people are getting taken to the cleaners, man. I'm like, what? They would have charged me this much to do this? And it blows my mind. And I'm like, no wonder why there's so much freaking people making millions of dollars, doing this stuff. I'm like, because people are paying it. Why? Because they don't know. That's the only reason.
It's funny. That's why
I had a chick one time tell me, why don't you just call a plumber? Are you fucking kidding me? We don't call nobody fucking do work for
$200 an hour? No,
I do
thanks.
everything myself.
I've been telling people now.
Except for put insulation. Fuck that.
I'm saying
Somebody else can put insulation.
I don't know roofing, dude. I don't know if you want to do
Oh,
roofing.
no, I've done roofing.
I've been doing a
I
little bit of
built
that
a
too.
roof in July and for my dad, and it was thankfully not very big, but we were out there just burning.
How
But-
big was it, John?
Oh no, it's not very big. Just over by a pool.
Oh, okay. Fuck.
Oh, like a porch?
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you
No,
out there.
but I've done pro panel, and I'm trying to think what time. I know it wasn't in the worst
Cook an
time of
egg
the
on
year.
that thing,
Oh
man.
yeah, no, I've stood up trusses. I've had walls fall on me from construction building. So, but I've just done all those things, and like I said, there's one thing I won't do is fucking insulation. I'm like, fuck that. I don't give a
My
shit
hand
about
at
the-
night now too, it's like getting stuck, my fingers are like
Oh, yeah,
getting
yeah.
stuck. My
Yeah.
hand falls asleep because we've been working with the jackhammer a lot lately, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God. But I'm telling
You're
you,
getting those blue collar man problems.
I'm telling buddies, I'm like, yeah, I got my GB98 by trade, so hit me up.
what's funny as shit? I ran a jackhammer for 2.5 months straight. And in Los Alamos, you're only allowed to run a jackhammer for 14 days. But these fuckers are always crying, and I could pick those things up easy. I ran it for that long, and I know my fingers were like you're saying, getting stuck.
Yeah.
It's a weird situation, right?
Yeah, my middle finger, it's like, it's stuck now.
That
It's weird.
cells you burn on those things.
Yeah.
It's a
And the
fight.
crazy thing is a lot of people you hear like, oh, it's hard work, but they just don't know how to use the tools. And that's one thing. My uncle, he's, without saying anything, he's an older guy, not crazy old, but he's like, I'm like, dang, you're a freaking brute, man. Like, I don't see people your age throwing a sledge like you are using. And he's like, it's because I know how to work the tools. And then he's teaching me these things, and I'm like, oh God, some people are like, and then it's like, just use it this way and it works itself. And that's the one thing a lot of people in the business lack is they want to go in and think they're all high and mighty. And it's like, this tool was built to do this job for you. It shouldn't be that difficult,
It's like running a chainsaw.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
one of the things you'll know immediately. I can know someone will run a chainsaw.
That was one thing. I had to hire people to cut trees down because I was not doing that. No, thank
No,
you.
see,
Those
that's
things
something
were
we do too.
huge.
We
They
do
were like
too.
leaning over the house and stuff. And I was like, I'll pass on this
Yeah,
job.
I know. Just like people are like, oh, I might gotta pay someone to do my brakes. I'm like, I have a C clamp. That's all you need to trick and change. Seriously, just so you can push the plunger back down and change the brakes in a second.
It's crazy, man.
But yeah, they just.
It's nuts.
But that's you talk to Michael Montoya. If that guy knows how to do everything, but he still goes on YouTube and he researches things and that's what I'll bring my dad in there. I'm like, Dad, see, this is how you look on YouTube and you can see people are out there have recorded themselves doing probably everything.
Everything.
Oh, yeah.
And you can find, and then they're like, oh, this is a better way to do it. And this is a better tool, and again, it's just being willing to accept other people's wisdom,
That's it. And that's one thing I've been really good at is I don't care. I'll ask someone,
Yeah.
Worst case, I mean, there's been people who are like, oh, yeah, you're going to give me some money for my wisdom. And I'm like, well, old guy down here just wants a Coke, he's going to come by and hang out. So
Yeah.
I'm good.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, though. You know what I mean?
I know. But I've met peg-headed people in their lives that they just think it's their way or whatever. And they don't ever learn from other people. And
Not
Yeah.
me, man.
Yeah, no.
I'm
See,
like,
that's
oh,
how I
that
am
light
too.
switch turned on the 3-way switch.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
Mhm.
It was funny. The other day, we're running wire for electrical, and my uncle wasn't there, and he taught me how to do it. While we had an electrician come in and teach me how to do all this stuff.
Mhm.
So I ran into a wall because when I pulled the old electrical off on the house, they ran 3-wire for everything, and they had reds as hot. And the way he taught me is black's hot, reds transfer, white's neutral. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh shit, I don't know what they did here. So then I take a picture of it, and I'm like, okay, I got to wire this in the same way. And I don't even understand how they were getting power to it, anything, because the only way I learned was one way from the electrician. So I'm like, okay, well, let me try to tie everything the same way. I tie all my recessed cans in the same way, and one switch worked, the other didn't. So there was something tied in wrong. So I said, you know what? I don't know what's wrong. I ripped everything out, ran the wire the way I knew how, and it works fine. And I was like, well, I know how to do it my way right now. And that's all I need, as long as I get it to work. But it was one of those things back then. I mean, electrical is crazy because if someone knows one way, it can work because it's just color. It's all copper. But if they tie it in one way, you have to tie it in the same way. And some people prefer reds is hot, blacks is hot, and then it was just a disaster.
You know what's funny? That's why I like technology, right? I'm gonna tell you right now, they can watch all of YouTube while you'll never program a fucking switch. That's why they bring in and do shit the complexity. But what's crazy about this is that what you are talking about. I like one thing you touched, Carson, is once you'll realize one thing is when you're starting your own home project or a project for you, it was the best education for me because the guys that I thought were my friends that come in and try to rate me, then I was like, if these fuckers are trying to do this to me on my personal project, that's my own money, what the fuck have they been doing for me at Harmonics?
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy?
Exactly.
It would open up my eye, and then I would fucking cut them at the throat, right? Because I'm like a Viking, man. I'm gonna give you the blood eagle. Right there, I would realize, holy shit, this is fucking out of control.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned that immediately. And so, like, when you start to see that, I have a famous saying that says, I don't make friends off my money. Friends, I don't make my money off my friends. Like, that's period. We have a rule. You come in, you do whatever the shit you can do, then you got to do on your end, right? So
yeah,
if
and
you
it's
just
funny too. I'm going through stuff, and of course, I'm not in the building thing full time. This is my first go at it, right? So I'm trying to find subs for things that I don't want to do, and I have ties to a lot of builders, and some of them are like, "Oh no, they're too busy," and then one guy will give me the same contact for the guy who is that. And it's like, it's just funny. It's just seeing who's willing to share. And I tell one of the guys I know, I'm like, dude, I'm just a kid building my own house. Like, I'm not doing a spec. I'm not trying to take anyone's lunch, I'm just trying to do this little investment deal and turn it in a couple years, and that's it, But it's crazy to see how much people will reveal to you.
what they guard.
And-
Not even
and
reveal what they're guarding.
Exactly. So it's been the whole thing has been a huge eye opener on just people in general and how everything works. It's crazy.
I have some quotes that I want to read you guys.
Okay.
When I decided to leave Albuquerque to move to Arizona, I had 2 mentors, and they had a bucket list. And I was with them when they marked the last thing on their bucket list. And so they invited me over for their house in Placitas for dinner. And I'm just like a young kid and, she had all this mental stuff. And so I'm like, what's in your wallet now? Because they would have it like literally in their wallet, both the husband and wife. And they said that they had the 5 laws of stratoscopic success. And they handed me a book. I was like, can I make a copy? Can I take a picture or whatever? And so they handed me a book, and inside they signed it to the future millionaire, go give. So I really want to, this is like 10 conversations back, but I think it's a good cap for the thing. So the law of value, your true worth is determined on how much you give in value than you take in payment. The law of compensation, your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. The law of influence, your influence is determined by how abundantly you place others' interests first. Law of authenticity, the most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. The law of receptivity, the key to effectively giving is to stay open to receiving.
That's pretty badass.
I wanted to share that.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
It is good. And then one of the things too, I don't have any shame, or I'm not mad at the people that have been these ways with me. It's just one of those things. I'm like, you know what? People have their own lives too. They got other stuff going on. Maybe they're hurting with money, but it's just not. I just know where to put certain people now. You know what I mean? It's like on a chessboard. It's like, okay, well, you were here. Now you became this guy. You know what I mean? Just different things like that. And I mean, I think human nature all falls guilty of it. I just think a lot of people thought, Carson's got his own business and he's selling a lot of real estate and he's dumping a lot of money into this house. So maybe we can get away with $100 an hour with him and things like that and whatever. But
I'm going to play devil's advocate because I have a story that I've seen recently. So I had a friend opening up a business and she had a homie that gave her a better deal. And she landed up paying more because of the homie hookup, because they didn't really do a good job and they messed up things. And, they would have actually saved money. And this isn't towards your project at all.
No.
They would have actually saved money by hiring the right people, because that project was just turning a house into commercial. So it wasn't like they started from foundation up. They just converted 2 damn rooms where that place could have been up and running in 2 fucking months. And it took them almost a year.
I said a month. I looked at the work. So this is the thing about that.
That's crazy just because of that.
So I'm with you on that. And I think Carson, like when you'll find there's certain things at the end of the day,
That you want.
but he has the time, right? He's talking about the time. And so you got to go with the value of the money and the time. And so this is for me. Okay. Like I still do a lot of stuff and I'll do stuff because I like it. But at the end of the day, there's a delta for me where I make so much money in one hit that if I take myself from that, I'm not really bringing the money. Now I'm fucking losing money. A shitload of money.
It's adjusting your focus.
Yeah. So what the problem is that you'll find that, but based on what you're doing, if like, you have a busy season, like I know when I have the federal season, like I really can't do shit. I'm going to have to pay for it. That's why I had the guys out there doing all the lawns and they're being done fucked up, but I couldn't have grass, as tall as me. But ultimately you'll find that you'll know that one time you're better off getting the craftsman that does it every single time because he's going to do it fast. And I'm going to give you right now the ones, for example, right? My World. Everyone thinks they could do My World. It's always fucked up. Painters that do a painting in a car. If you haven't painted a car, trust me, you can watch a lot of shit. You're not going to prep that fucker. There's going to be more runs than hell, right? Welding. I'm going to tell you right now, do not fucking weld something major that could get you killed if you've never fucking welded. So there's those caveats.
Pop your weld.
Yeah, you know what I'm trying to tell you? Like there's just certain shit out there
for sure.
that if you don't know what the fuck you're doing, I don't care. Don't look at it. Don't fuck around, right? That's the things I talk about. High power electric, anything over 220. I don't give a fuck. You don't fuck with 220. I saw a dude in Sandia National Labs that quite thought you knew he was doing. He touched it and he almost got fucking killed, right? So there's
certain things.
Yeah. If you never driven a big piece of equipment and you get out there and you think you can do it, I've seen fuckers knock roofs off. Me and Mike always laugh at this. So there's certain stuff that there's those caveats that are like, hey, you know what? What's my ability? I'm gonna do it. And same thing like what I learned with even when I was building out the stuff with the website, bring in the pros that are gonna be able to code that fucker from scratch and look at, took me a while, but it was done right. So there's certain things at the end of the day that you're not gonna be able to do. And it's going to take, and you got to say, is it this much time is going to take me? Yeah. Like, and let's get the guy to do it.
And that's where I stage at. I'm in the house because I came into the project knowing, okay, I could do X, Y, and Z. Now I'm getting to the point where I'm going to start subbing people out. Like now, can I hang drywall? Can I do the finish? Sure. But I don't know how to do level 5 and I don't trust myself to do it smooth. And with the lighting, it's going to show every imperfection. Yeah. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to hang it because if I hang it a certain way, the finish guy doesn't like, then he's going to say, you hung it crooked. So there's nothing. So I'm like, you know what? These guys are doing it every day. They get a crew in, boom, 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 versus me and my uncle hang up 4x12s. We need over 100 sheets. We're going to be there a couple of weeks, and that's kind of conversation we had.
It becomes inefficient use of your time.
Exactly. And then it might come out crappy because, we're both like, well, we really don't, we can do it, but we don't know how good. And I was like, you know what? If I'm putting all this in the house, I'm doing everything perfect. And flooring, Oscar's going to do my floors and just different things like that. Like there's certain things and I'm like, okay, I'm stepping away. Can I do tile? Sure. But it's not going to be
it's not going to be that precise. And that's the thing I'm talking about is that you get the subject matter expert when it comes to finishes.
Exactly.
Then the rest, you just move on.com. You're like, you know what? No, I do that. But
imagine if the tree would have went through your roof because again.
No, that's another thing. I didn't cut
but
the
like
tree
that
down,
was a good move because that would have been I
Yeah.
saw that tree. That was crazy.
Yeah,
It makes
it's-
me nervous to think someone even did it. you
I'd have
know?
knocked that sucker down. I could do trees.
Yeah.
The way they were cutting it down was crazy. They were climbing all the way up to the top. These guys were from Honduras, and they were like, "We cut down trees way bigger than this."
Oh
up
yeah,
there."
monster trees.
So I was like, "You guys are crazy." His son's up there, 40 feet in the air. He wasn't even strapped, just chainsaw. Then the dad's roping it off, pulling it down. It was wild to see,
It's
man.
cool.
But
That's cool stuff. It's
That was
cool
one thing
stuff.
I didn't do. I was like, I ain't touching that.
Well, guys, I hope you learn a lot. We're about to put a close here on the Truth Podcast. And again, things, reason, a season, or a lifetime. It's not for us to determine. It's just for us to deal with it and learn about life. And so much love for you guys. Catch you next Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
We're
See
out.
you guys next week.
Harmonix Technologies, your New Mexico business IT solution. With incredible products that will fit your needs both big and small, and unmatched service, it's your vision delivered. Learn how we can help your business roar into action today. Harmonix Technologies, your New Mexico business IT solution.